letters that we received today. I have included them as part of the agenda item for discussion with the council. And Councillor Bessaron should ask if I could bring those letters up for discussion or for review. So what I'm bringing up is the first letter, first email, and I'll put it on share here. And the first email is from Mr. Goodmanson, and what it says is, due to the zoning change attempt at 16 James St. Street, Boulevard Bay, Manitoba, I was looking on your website and noticed the section on the Laconia well. I noticed the testing of the usage was conveniently done during COVID, and the number of users is very inadequate. Many areas and cottage owners use and rely on that water supply in larger than bottle amounts. I feel a bottle fill station seems like a completely useless expense and effort and not a solution to the problem. As it is now, everybody uses their own hoses to fill their supply tanks. This well produces some of the best water you can get. I personally have been drinking it my entire life. I feel it is irresponsible of the community to shut this system down and turn it into a bottle fill station. At that rate, people may as well fill them in the city. I seem to remember at some point back long ago, I had been told that the well was put under St. Clement's property to keep it from communities at the area. People come all the way from Traverse and Victoria Beach to use that water. That was the email from Mr. Goodmanson. The other email, sorry, I just lost that. Share, I'll bring up the other email. The other email is from Mr. Crab, and I will just share it. You just hang on 1 second. And as part of this, in this email, this one is a little bit more lengthier, so what I'll do is I'll try to just go through some of the relevant information, and it's available for council to read. I'm inquiring as to the decision paper. I wish to have my concerns brought forward and read into the minutes. I will be happy to speak on the issue as well. I will be on the Zoom meeting tonight for the James Boulevard subdivision issue. So I want to address that first. As this was received as late, Mr. Crab is on delegation to speak to the item on the agenda. I find it interesting that the lifeblood of the region is being decided upon without consultation directly on media or by contacting the community and degrading our only water service in the region. I was personally asked to get involved in the movement by many to pressure the owner to purchase the well as a community resource when it was first shut down 10 years ago. I would like to know how the current consultation process is handled. This is a major asset of the region with no options. We categorically reject the idea of the junk fill station. Please consider the following facts. Regressive to development, the owner spent millions of various sewage projects underutilized and using massive debt for St. Clement's. Since the owner of St. Clement's will not service us with a water truck of their own, water truck they own, no neighboring RM offers any filling stations in the area, and nobody in St. Clement's or Alexandra offers potable water supply. Delivering Laconia well bulk service is absolutely necessary. Water is crucial to people staying and supplying local businesses. If people cannot stay here without running water for cleansing, they do not need sewage service. It seems improper from a development perspective that we upgrade sewage projects and lagoons with no plan for water supply. This is not a progressive thinking. I do not encourage development with no potable water can be delivered unless ordering from left to body. It seriously limits options for those wanting to invest in a property or improve old properties, which are all additional resources and revenue. Number two, or the next item is old statistics. I do believe the 8-year-old data for the use of the well is indicative of the current usage. There are there's a growing off-season use also. I would counsel to reconsider a solution that suits the actual usage of the well by community. I bet with the true observation with real statistics that almost every day a resident is drawing bulk water for their cistern. Many residents in this area are unable to drill wells. There are not many aquifers in the region. Most of the lakefront has little to no water off the Grand Marais until Laconia. As the last 2 years has proven, the shallow wells have dried up under drought conditions. I know 90-foot wells that have stopped delivering water in the area. Serious consultation interviewing the users would show demographics that demonstrated large volume usage for Nebo and Gull Lake and Grand Beach year-round. Utility monitoring. There are monitoring options for well operations, flow metering, water level, equipment failure, video monitoring, analytics of visitors that can be done by cellular technologies. It just means electrical supply that will be required for many options selected, and many require monthly monitoring costs unless a private network back to the RM maintenance building is installed where the RM can provide its own information and remotely access it from the office. This is a safety issue. Many people have 250-gallon tanks that load up and drive a short distance of 500 to obtain water. A few are on half-ton trucks, but mostly on trailers. To load in Selkirk involves a dangerous drive to Selkirk. With that much weight on, it is not possible to travel high speeds and on a two-lane highway. We have no choice, and it is not a consideration for many. Summer traffic and heavy usage by gravel and sand, semis and day trippers make the highway dangerous enough. Adding slow-moving water tank is dangerous. Winter makes the highway that much more dangerous due to the conditions of road and weather. It also jacks up the cost for residents being able to safely travel to Laconia well. All year is a lifeline for residents and is affordable. Many using this service are seniors who do not have the financial means to change a method of obtaining water. Do we want seniors driving home on the highway alone with a big tank and dealing with a flat tire over winter, or sitting in a ditch from a flat tire that went crazy? Driving to Selkirk is too time-consuming and non-desirable option for most. The jug fill is not an option. Water delivery, there's several different things here. Would you like me to continue reading, Council, or has everybody been able to read majority of this?
I think I'm fine with it. I'll ask Council, is there anybody else who wants to read the rest of the letter? Because I think we can all pull it up now on our devices. So, as Deepak had mentioned, and I see Mr. Crabb, you are on listening to the conversation, but unfortunately, because of the lateness of your letter coming to Council, you are not put on as a delegation for today. So if there's anything else that you would like to speak about, you can always call the office and speak to Deepak, our CAO, and I'm sure that he can provide some answers to you. But right now I'm going to open it up for comments from council members. So I'll open it up and see what is the wish of council at this point in time. Any questions, comments? Go ahead, Councillor Belanger.
Just some of the concerns we had, we talked about this in the past, about the reasons why we had to do this. If Mr. Administrator or yourself want to speak to that, I mean, there's specific reasons why we went in this direction.
Right. Well, I can start off and I'll turn it over to Deepak. I know that, you know, over the years there have been concerns from environment, and this is not something that council chose to do because council wanted to do this. Council had to look at different options because of the health department and different regulations that have come into play. And I think from that point I will hand it over to Deepak because I think he's a little bit more familiar with some of the regulations that have come into play since we have started this process, and that is the reason that this process was started, is because of the new regulations that have come into place. Go ahead, Deepak.
Yeah, to be very clear, this is not an initiative from the RMSA comments. This was an order given to us by the Office of the Drinking Water, who asked us to deal with issues related with the Office of the Drinking Water, and the Act itself governs the usage of including artesian wells and wells. And the situation was, this is a free-flowing well, and that is not allowed anymore. On top of that, there were some connections and hoses that were connected, and there was cross-contamination and the possibility of contaminating the well itself because of the low flow that's already existing in there. So they asked us that they ordered us to make sure that we deal with the issues of it being free-flowing, as well as to make sure that it would be stopped and to manage the usage of it. Several options were looked at. The statistics were not used. The statistics were used in order for us to just make certain decisions on our part, but they were not used to justify this action. This action is a requirement under the Manitoba Office of the Drinking Water, who has ordered the RM to take on this because we have a liability associated with this. If that well gets contaminated, that would also contaminate other areas. Several other attempts have been made. When hoses were removed, people came in there, certain restrictive devices were put in place, which were vandalized and broken off so people could get the water as they saw fit. This has continued to be an ongoing issue which can create some significant problems for the RM, as well as a safety issue. On top of that, we have explored various options, and there is a significant risk here. When we start shutting down the water from being free-flowing, there's a very strong possibility that the water pipes and the well itself could fail, which would then dictate requirement for shutting down and possibly drilling a new well, which would no longer be the same artesian well or the same water, even if it hits the same aquifer source location. So there are some significant challenges and risks, and that's why certain options were explored. We've had complaints about the flow being reduced, or that the flow is not fast enough to fill larger tanks, or we've had complaints from people who are coming in filling jugs because somebody is spending 8 hours filling a large container. So there's a multitude of complaints that have continued on this location. What we're trying to do is find the best solution that can help alleviate some of the problems and reduce the risk. At the same point, we are also offering the truck fill option, and I do appreciate it's further down by East Selkirk, but there will be a new truck fill with proper potable water that is properly that meets government standards as potable water for truck fills. So hopefully that answers that question, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you for that. So what is the wish of council today? Do we want to perhaps put some information together and put it out on our website so that people in the area, because we also know that it's not just people in the area that do use the well at Beconia. It is people from all over. It is people come from Winnipeg, and I know that there's people come from all other areas to get their water at that artesian well. So I would perhaps suggest that we put some information on our website before we do make a decision on this. I think it's very important that people have the right information prior to council making a decision. So can I just get a consensus on that, or do you want to pass a resolution to have it on the website? What would you like to do with it? Go ahead, Councillor Bazarowicz.
I don't know if this has been done before by us, but can we check with places like the Otter that have similar systems and see how they're dealing with it and what their regulation is? I don't know if anybody else has this going on. Is like the body got anything like that? I know they do have artesian wells, and Gimli does, but I know for sure the Otter does offer a service.
I'm not sure that administration has checked with the village of Donator or the town of Gimli, because I know there is I guess it's like a fountain in Gimli that's an artesian well, but they've kind of got it built up. Perhaps that might be worth looking into to see what regulations they go by. I know the one in Gimli, you just kind of go there and you fill up your cup with water. It's not a truck fill or anything like that. It's for consumption right then and there. So perhaps we can check with Donator if they have some sort of an artesian well that is used for filling containers and I don't want to use the word trucks, but whether they're 5-gallon containers or the type that you put on the back of a truck, those type of containers. So anybody else have any comments? Go ahead, Councillor Strang.
I'm just going to agree with you, and that we should get more information and put out information before we make our decision.
Okay, so is
just giving people information of why this has come in front of council too, that it isn't this council's decision, like we're the decision we have to make, but it was not something that it's been put in front of us as a health.
Right, it wasn't initiated by council, it was initiated through the health department. Go ahead, Councillor Boulanger.
Yeah, I just stepped away briefly. I just wanted to also mention what you just said, exactly right. It was forced on us. So we were faced with two options. We either do something, which is what we're doing, or we shut it down. And I just want to make that clear, because that was an option as well. Just to comply with the provincial orders.
Right, right. So, okay, I think at this point in time, I'm going to suggest that we hold this over and our administration will get a little bit of additional information and it will be coming back to council at a future date, and I don't want to say that it will be 2 weeks from now because we may not have the information. So it may not be until the end of February. So with that, if that is okay with all members of council, I would like to move on our agenda, please. Okay, the next item on our agenda is number 6.3, the lot 33 at Sunset Bay and brush clearing. And Deepak, can you speak to that one, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you may recall, there's been selective requests that have come in for some areas where they can do some brush clearing, but it's really selective clearing under the direction of an arborist. And council has allowed that as long as there is no impact on the surrounding mature trees, and this is within our public reserve lands, and it's usually for cottage owners that have direct line of sight to the lake. There's been very limited requests. This is another request that's coming as a private request, and it's for council's review. We're recommending approval as we've done others under the direction of an arborist.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions from council? Go ahead, Councillor Sutherland.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, it's fine if we do allow them to do some brushing, but I would like the property that the resident is brushing, I would like pictures taken before anything happens, so you can see what big trees are there, and then just so we know what is there, and then they're only supposed to cut the underbrush up and not take a bunch of trees down. So I would like some photographs of the area so we know once the brushing takes place. I mean, it will be too late if they cut the trees down, but at least we know what trees were there and what it's, we want it in that state. We just want this alone to take the underbrush. So that's all I would request.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Sutherland. Deepak, do you know if that has been done in the past, or would this be kind of a new ask from the arborist?
This would be a new ask, Madam Mayor, and I think it's a reasonable ask. That they are requesting, it's supposed to be deadfall and some small brush, not large trees, just to have photographic evidence to what was there and what wasn't, as we've had certain complaints, and I've said that we are limiting these requests because it is intended for clear cutting.
Okay, thank you for that. So do we have a resolution to that effect?
Yes, if, Heather, are you updating the resolution?
Yeah, I'll update it.
Okay, I'll just reload, make sure it's updated. Why don't I just read it out?
Yeah, I think Heather's almost done here.
You can read it out, and I'll.
Yeah, you can go ahead and read it out.
Okay. Whereas the property owner at lot 33, block 1, plan 50313 Sunset Bay Estates wish to remove trees and brush to maintain a lake view from their cabin lot with consideration given to ensure the lake bank stability is not compromised, therefore be it resolved, council support the trimming as not to disturb the root system of the trees and brush from the forested lakefront section of the lake and Trans-Canada Trail lot 33, block 1, plan 50313 Sunset Bay at the property owner's expense. Further be it resolved that pictures be taken for before and after to make sure that the work done under the direction of an arborist has been completed properly.
Okay, thank you for that. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Bazarowicz, second. Councillor Sutherland. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, 6.6 on our agenda is the Holiday Alley Letter of Support request. And this is a request that comes through on a yearly basis. And go ahead, Deepak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If there was a timing issue on this, I submitted the letter in advance and bringing it to council for attention.
Thank you for that. Any questions from council members? At this point in time, we are not committed to any monetary dollars or anything like that. It's a letter of support for them to try and get going for their next holiday alley. Okay, if there is nothing else, we will move on to number 7 on our agenda, which is the accounts and financial statement. We do have a closed list of accounts for the period ending January the 25th. And Deepak, if you can please read the resolution for that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolved, council approved the January 25th, 2022 list of accounts. Check numbers 2200039 to 220000200 in the amount of $3,262,220.27 for payment.
Can I have a mover, please? Board member or Councillor Spicer, second. Councillor Blanger, any questions or comments? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, the next item we have, there are some weed bills that were not paid to the weed board, so they are to be added to the taxes. So we do have a resolution for that, and if you could please read it, Deepak.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Whereas the Selkirk Weed Control Board annually administers the weed control program and charges the property owner for the cost of controlling weeds, and whereas there are amounts which were due in 2021 and have not been collected, therefore be it resolved, as per letter received December 31st, 2021 from the Selkirk Weed Board, $3,710.19 be added to taxes for outstanding weed bills as per section 252(2) of the Municipal Act.
Can I have a mover, please? Board member, Councillor Sutherland moves and Councillor Bazarowicz seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the contravention notice for animal control bylaw for a fine to be added to the taxes. And Deepak, if you want to read the resolution, unless you have some comment on that prior to the resolution.
No, Madam Mayor, this is straightforward. That what we have is animal control bylaw that fines are not paid, and as per the act, or as per our bylaw and the act, we're allowed to pay all the taxes. Whereas on December 2nd, 2021, a violation notice under the Rural Municipality, St. Clements Municipality Animal Control Bylaw 6 of 2020 was issued to Michael Bauer and Claudia Stockman, the person of 241 Limousine Avenue, the required person to pay the municipality a fine of $250 within 30 days following the receipt of the violation notice. And whereas the 30-day period expired on January 1st, 2022, and the person has not paid the fine, and whereas the municipality is authorized to pursuant to subsection 236(1) of the Municipal Act and subsection 117(5) of the municipality's general enforcement bylaw to collect the unpaid fine in the same manner as a tax may be collected or enforced under the Municipal Act. Therefore, be it resolved that Council of the Rural Municipality St. Clements by resolution hereby confirms that Michael Bauer and Claudia Stockman did violate section 4.1c and 4.1g of the Animal Control Bylaw 6 of 2020 as more particularly set out in the violation notice dated December 2nd, 2021. Confirms that the fine of $250 as set out in the violation notice was not paid by Michael Bauer and Claudia Stockman to the municipality on or prior to January 1st, 2022 as required. Confirms that subsection 17.5 of the municipality's general enforcement bylaw authorizes the municipality to collect the unpaid fine in the same manner as tax may be collected or enforced under the Municipal Act. And finally, directs the Chief Administrative Officer to add the amount of the unpaid fines to the property tax bill for the property or properties located at 241 Limousine Avenue, roll number 311514, where Michael Bauer and Claudia Stockman are the registered owners.
Thank you for that. Can I have a mover, please? Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Bazarowicz, Councillor Spicer seconds. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Councillor Bazarowicz.
It's just that I recently received some complaints about burning, and if we're going to be assessing fines for burning, are they going to be dealt with in the same manner? Like, will they be able to be put on the taxes?
That's correct, Councillor. As when I was going to bring up the bylaws, I was going to bring that to your attention, that we're bringing up the burning bylaw today for first reading. And as part of that, afterwards, when we bring it for second reading, we will be bringing an amendment to our common offense for our bylaw so that we can then, this bylaw will also fall under the same bylaw to be able to add fines to property taxes.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I have a mover, I have a seconder. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, the next item we have on the agenda is our date for our tax sale, and that is a requirement of the Act that we set a tax sale date, and I believe that Deepak has a resolution for that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So, as per the Act, we're required to identify the date of the tax sale, whereas subsection 365(2) of the Municipal Act provides that council may in any year designate the immediate preceding year or any earlier year as a year for which properties, the taxes in respect to which are in arrears for the year must be offered for sale by auction to recover the tax arrears and costs. Be it resolved that the designated year for which properties in arrears be offered for sale by auction be 2021, meaning all properties with outstanding taxes from the year 2020 or prior. And be it further resolved that in accordance with Section 3631 of the Municipal Act, costs shall be the actual costs incurred by the municipality for each parcel listed for the tax sale, plus an administration fee of $50 per roll as set forth in the Manitoba Regulation 50/97. And be it further resolved that the tax sale be held December 7th, 2022 at 12 p.m. at the Rural Municipality of St. Clements Council Chambers.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang moves it, Councillor Boulanger seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, so that takes us, there are no grants 7.4 on our agenda. There were no grants to come forward today, so that takes us to number 8 on our agenda, which is the bylaws. And the first one we have is bylaw 1 of 2022, and that's for campaign expenses and contributions, and that was given first reading at our last meeting, so it's being brought forward for second and third reading. Does anybody want Deepak to go over any parts of it? I'm not seeing anything, so Deepak, was there anything that you wanted to touch on? And if not, you can proceed with reading the resolution for second reading.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolved, bylaw 1 of 2022 being a bylaw for campaign expenses and contributions be given second reading.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Spicer, Councillor Sutherland seconds. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. It is also on our docket for third reading today, and I will ask you all to keep your hands raised because it is a recorded vote for third reading. So Deepak, if you want to proceed.
Resolved, bylaw 1 of 2022 being a bylaw for campaign expenses and contributions be read a third time.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Bazarowicz, Councillor Spicer seconds. Discussion. Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And as far as I can see, everyone is in favor of it, and Councillor Horvis was not present, so. And that is carried. Heather did get the recorded vote. So we are down to number 9 on our agenda, which is communications for information.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, we do still have the first reading of burning bylaw.
Oh, yes, that's right. Sorry about that. I skipped over that one. So it's 8.3 on our agendas. It's a burning bylaw for first reading. So Deepak, if you want to read the resolution, or did you want to have some dialogue before the resolution is read?
This is an update to our burning bylaw, Madam Mayor, and as part of our second reading, we can provide some further information. As it is first reading, we're just, we've made some modifications, updated some of the information, as well as being able to adjust the appropriate fines and create some additional definitions such as firecrackers, burning barrels, and other things that have just needed to be updated since the last time the burning bylaw was updated.
Thank you for that. So go ahead and read the resolution for first reading then.
Resolved, bylaw 2 of 2022 being a bylaw of the prevention and control of fires with the Rural Municipality of St. Clements be given first reading.
Can I have a mover, please? Board Member Councillor Strang, second. Councillor Boulanger. Any discussion or questions? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, now I'll try again. Number 9 on our agendas is communications for information. And Deepak, were there any there that you wanted to touch upon?
Yes, Madam Mayor. The first one would be the reassessment, the letter from Chapter 6 about the reassessment dates from municipal relations regarding the assessment. I just wanted to highlight specifically that you may recall that due to COVID, there was a delay in the reassessment from last year, and it was moved to 2022. And as part of that, to 2021, sorry. As part of that, there will be a tax impact date where they'll come and present to council. The date has been selected of Tuesday, June 14th at 9:30 a.m. That they'll come and do a presentation, as well as the assessment department will be having an open house. We've reserved East Selkirk Rec Center. Hopefully by then there are opportunities to be able to have in-person discussions, and people will be able to come to the open house and address any of their comments and concerns related with the assessment services. So that's one of them that I wanted to bring to your attention.
Thank you.
The other ones that I wanted to bring to your attention, I think, is the Manitoba Budget 22 engagement process is now underway. And so just wanted to let you know that there's an opportunity if you're wanting to participate as council members into the public consultation the province is doing. The links and so forth have been provided for you. The others that I want to bring to your attention would be the email to our fire rescue. I felt this was important to share with council that there was an incident occurring in our north with our East Beaches Fire, who had a very wonderful response, and the person who received the aid, somebody had fallen, a senior cross-country skiing, and were hurt and called 911. The fire department was there in a very short order of time. They were very impressed with it, but not only that, many of the firefighters, because it was a very cold day, took off their own outer clothing and placed it on the individual to keep them warm until an ambulance was able to come and paramedics were able to deal with this individual. The partner of the individual who was hurt was very, very impressed, and this is going above and beyond, and I felt it was important for council to know. And I did send our thank yous to the fire chief as well.
Thank you for that.
Sorry, council, I'm beginning to lose my voice now. The other is there is an email that you'll see for the Operation Lines Regulations, which is now Operation Lines Regulations responsible for all quarry operations as well as everything else. And what they're asking is just updates from all municipalities, not just ours. So I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. And the other is, I think that was the main ones that I wanted to draw to your attention.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? I do have one on number 931, and it's the letter from East St. Paul with the bylaw amendment, and it has the whole, yeah, that would be the one. The Richard and Winthrop planning and development presentation. Was that just for our information, or were they kind of asking if we had any objections or anything to that?
As in all of these, we have the opportunity to register objections if we have them. They're required to share with the municipalities, so surrounding municipalities, when it comes to these types of developments. I'm not sure how this would have a direct impact on the RM, but if there were concerns, I could certainly look at tabling those concerns. What I did see is there's a fairly extensive analysis completed by Richard Winthrop Planning and Development. As part of this, and from my understanding, what this is the golf course that was sold off.
Yeah, and I guess the only reason I bring it up is because I know that we get these on occasion, but there's not near as much detail as this one had, so that's what kind of it made me wonder whether they were wanting us to provide comments or anything, because I know a lot of times we do get these and it's just kind of a notice that this is happening without much background information. So if nobody else has any concerns, I'm good too.
Yeah, I think that this is something, personally, I think this is something good that, you know, when you're looking at a major development such as this, and a zoning bylaw amendment, that doing this type of analysis to make sure that there's an understanding of the impact on the environment, impact on the potential of growth in the municipality, or ability to absorb these much lands, I think is a very worthwhile analysis. And personally speaking, Madam Mayor, I would encourage that we would need something like that for even ours when we get into this large of a development that encompasses over so many years.
Okay, thank you for that. Any other comments or questions? Okay, I think that kind of pretty much covers all of our correspondence for information. And we will go down to council reports. So
Madam Mayor, if
yes.
I may, ask for, we had scheduled a meeting with the developer to come in
right.
and discuss some of their options.
Yes, and that was for
their
4:30.
discussions.
Yeah.
And the developer is waiting in the waiting room. Do we want to go into in camera and deal with that, and then come back out of camera to deal with these other items?
Yes, I think that would be our best bet, is to go into camera, because the developer did ask to present at 4:30. So if we could have a resolution then to move in camera, and we will do our council and CAO report a little bit later, either before our planning items and probably not until after. So go ahead and read a resolution to go in camera, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Resolved, council recess the regular meeting and go into in camera to discuss legal and personnel issues. And further be it resolved that all matters discussed are to remain confidential as per section 83(1)D of the Municipal Act.
Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Strang, Councillor Spicer seconds. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, opposed, and that is carried. Okay, so we will shut off the recordings, and we will
Recording stopped.
and we will take the camera off.